Another episode of Milking GTA 6 starts here. Okay, I'm just kidding, but let's do it for the last time. This is the ultimate leaks analysis. I know what you're thinking. Great, another GTA 6 leaks video. But listen, I promise this one's different. This time, I'm going all in. We're going to cover everything from the leaked development footage, and I mean everything. So let's just get straight into it, as this is going to be a long video, and probably the most in-depth breakdown of the leaks on YouTube. Let's start from the beginning, the day when the internet got flooded with GTA 6's early development footage. 90 video clips recorded between March 2021 and September 2022 were released for the whole world to see. That's over a year of development footage, all made public in an instant. These clips varied in detail, showing everything from gameplay features, graphical details, characters, animations, and a whole lot more. First off, we're gonna talk about the characters first, and the biggest reveal was, of course, Jason and Lucia, the two protagonists of GTA 6. Now, here's the thing. Jason's name hasn't been officially confirmed by Rockstar yet, so it's very much possible that the studio could still change things up. For now, though, the community has accepted Jason as the official name for the male lead, so let's just roll with that. Lucia, on the other hand, was clearly identified in both the leaked footage and the official trailer, so we're pretty certain she's here to stay. When the leaks first dropped, one of the biggest surprises to me was the fact that the upcoming game is going to have a man and a woman as the two leads, which is something Rockstar's never done before. Ever since GTA 3, we've always played as male characters, whether it's Tommy in Vice City, CJ in San Andreas, or the trio of Michael Franklin and Trevor in GTA 5. This time around, having both a guy and a girl team up is a huge shift. If it weren't for the leaks, this news would have taken the whole gaming world by storm with the first trailer. Now, based on the clips and of course the official trailer, it's pretty clear that they're in a relationship, which gives off those Bonnie and Clyde kind of vibes. It lines up with what journalist Jason Schreier reported earlier, but let's clear something up. When Schreier mentioned Bonnie and Clyde, he was likely using that as a key term to make it clear that Jason and Lucia are a criminal couple, but it doesn't mean that the upcoming GTA story is going to be fully inspired by the real-life Bonnie and Clyde, and it definitely doesn't mean they'll have the same fate as the notorious duo. Or they might, who knows? And what's even more interesting is how much detail we already know about these characters, unofficially of course. For example, people have already figured out their heights from the leaked footage, and based on the calculations, Lucia is 5'3", while Jason stands at 6'1". Now let's talk about the other characters we saw in the leaks. We got a lot of new names like Dre, Sam, Wyman, Billy, Tit, Chester, and Dale. But what's interesting is that none of these characters appeared in the official trailer. Instead, we saw characters like Stephanie G, the Old Lady, Rudy, and Shani C. It's possible Rockstar is holding back the characters from the leaks on purpose, or maybe some of them have been removed from the game since the footage got out. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? We might still see some of these characters in the final version. Gangs have always been a huge part of the GTA series, and from the leaks, we got some early insight into a few that we might be seeing in GTA 6. One of the big ones is the San for San, which is a Haitian gang. We already had a Haitian gang in the original Vice City, so they seem to be making a comeback, and this was actually later confirmed by the trailer as well. Another name that popped up in the leaks was the Guardia brothers, but honestly, we don't have much information about them. There's a chance they'll be involved in the game's criminal underworld, but without more concrete details, it's hard to say what role they'll play. Then, we've got the far-right militia mentioned in the event list. It's unclear if they're going to be an active gang or just a group you come across somewhere in the story, kind of like the Clan in Red Dead Redemption 2. Now let's talk about all the leaked items and tools that will be available in GTA 6. Sure, some of these items will be familiar to those who've played GTA 5, but there are plenty of new ones that we haven't seen in any GTA game before, like Immobilizer Bypass and Tracker Jammer. These tools suggest we're going to have some advanced car theft mechanics in the game, and likely advanced car security systems to deal with. Then there's the duffel bag. Now this one is going to be pretty important because we know how GTA 6, much like RDR2, is likely to limit the weapons and tools we can carry at once. So these duffel bags are likely to let you carry more weapons or loot, but they could also come with a downside, like slowing you down depending on what you're carrying. If true, this is going to be a bold change, because we've been wired to GTA's unrealistic gunplay that lets you carry a full arsenal on you at all times. So having to rely on a bag to bring extra firepower might feel a bit restrictive, making combat combat feels slower than we're used to. Then we've also painkillers and trauma kits. Maybe we'll get to deal with different injuries in different ways, like painkillers for taking a few punches from the NPCs, while trauma kits to treat like gunshot wounds. Aside from those, we've also got some familiar tools like the crowbar, flashlight, binoculars, and cut-off tool, which might help in pulling off heists or breaking into places. Then there's more specific gear like the Slim Jim for older car thefts, USB drives that might come handy for hacking missions, which we will talk about in detail later on, and some of Vice City's iconic weapons like the golf club or pool cue. Lastly, we've got food and drink items for recovery, and of course the good old ciggies for those classic Rockstar touches. Now, let's talk more about the weapons that were leaked. And well, there's quite a lineup of new and returning weapons in GTA 6, but let's focus on the new stuff first. One of the most interesting additions is the spear gun. This feels like something Rockstar is throwing in to add more variety to combat, maybe for underwater missions. It's definitely not your typical GTA weapon, but it'll be cool to see how it plays into the game's action. Then we have the polymer pistol, a modern sidearm which offers a different alternative to the standard pistols. The bolt action and hunter sniper are also new, which means we might be getting some longer, more tactical Hitman-inspired missions. And the addition of heavy machine guns means we will get our equal share of GTA over-the-top action as well. When it comes to throwables, we'll have flashbangs in addition to the usual grenades, smokes, and those sticky explosives we all love tossing at NPCs back in San Andreas. Of course, plenty of weapons are returning from GTA 5 like the rocket launcher, baseball bat, knife, Molotovs, and the classic lineup of rifles and SMGs. So, it looks like GTA 6 is going all out with its weapon selection. Something just as important as the weapons themselves is how we access them. And from the leaks, we can see that the weapon wheel in GTA 6 is evolving compared to what we had in 5. From the leaked footage, it's pretty clear that Rockstar is continuously tweaking the system, making it look good while keeping it accessible. Initially, the weapon wheel seemed to be split into 3 sections: weapons, equipment, and gear. This setup feels a bit like what we saw in RDR2, where the wheel had different sections for weapons, items, and even your horse gear. And as I mentioned before, it looks like the amount of weapons you can hold is limited. Then in one of the later clips, it seems like they made some changes, adding an additional quick item inventory at the bottom left. This could be used for items like trauma kits, painkillers, cigarettes, and even food. It could be a great way to manage health and recovery items more efficiently, especially during intense gunfights. We saw this getting suggested in one of the clips where Jason gets injured and a tip pops up: "You are injured, your health will regenerate slowly. Open your weapon wheel and use a recovery item to replenish your health faster." Also, besides limited weapon options, there's no dual-wielding ability as speculated by some fans. At least that's the impression that we got from the recent footage of the weapon wheel. But, well, it's not just all about shooting in GTA 6. From what's been leaked so far, we know there's going to be plenty of open-world activities. First off, some activities from previous GTA games like golf, races, and scuba diving seem to be making a return, but they're being fleshed out even more. We've already had golf and races in GTA 5, and while they were fun, it looks like GTA 6 might be expanding on them. Think about how detailed the minigames were in Red Dead Redemption 2, like fishing or poker. They were simple, but felt deep because of the attention to detail. We could be getting something similar here. However, one that stands out to me is Dice. Now this is something we haven't seen in the series before, and it could be Rockstar's way of giving players another low-key activity to enjoy while hanging out in the open world. Then we also have something called the Van Shipment event. In one of the videos, a delivery van spawns in an industrial area near Port Gellhorn. There's even a warning poster about security cameras in the area, suggesting that robbing these vans might require more stealth than what we've seen in previous games. Robberies are also coming back, which is always welcome, but they seem to be getting a major upgrade. In one of the leaked videos, Jason is seen robbing Hank's Waffles and later entering a pawn shop. It definitely looks like robberies are going to be more expansive than in any other GTA game, with more locations around the map being available to hit, including cargo containers, possibly only for Jason. The leaks also mention events where you'll be searching for things in vehicle trunks or food stores, which could hint at smaller, more frequent tasks to keep you busy, or something you'd want to do to keep your inventory packed. We've also got deliveries, which seems to be tied to places like Port Gellhorn and their pickup warehouses. This could involve transporting goods or completing cargo missions or delivering drugs, similar to the business missions in GTA Online, but hopefully with more variety. While we're all waiting for GTA 6, replaying 5 might not sound that exciting unless you mod it, and that's where Lively World Expansion comes in. This mod makes the whole map feel way more alive by adding props, vegetation, and extra details across different areas. Every update expands new regions, and honestly, Honestly, this is the expanded and enhanced we should have gotten. And they're not stopping there. Soon they'll be replacing all the outdated vegetation models, so GTA 5's world will look better than ever. Add a graphics mod like Natural Vision or Chromatics, and you've basically got a next-gen GTA experience. So if you're thinking about jumping back into GTA 5 before or even after 6 drops, definitely check out Lively World Expansion. The link's in the description and the pinned comment down below. Now let's talk about one of the big things that we kinda missed in GTA 5, enterable interiors. Compared to GTA 4, where we could walk into places like restaurants and other small businesses, 5 felt a bit more restricted. Sure, we had some places we could enter, but it was nowhere near the level of interaction that we had in 4. Now, with the upcoming game, it looks like that's about to change in a big way. The leaks have already confirmed that there will be a ton of enterable interiors, reportedly around 70%. From the leaked footage, we know that there will be places like the Malibu Club, pawn shops, strip clubs like Jack of Hearts, supermarkets, bars, restaurants, and even apartments. This is huge for the immersion factor. The leaked data even suggested that there are at least 157 interiors in the game so far, and Rockstar could still add more before release. We know the studio has filed for some patent for some cutting-edge AI tech that will help them generate the interiors of these buildings, so we could have totally diverse building interiors, and not just copy-pasted versions of them. And obviously, the upcoming game will have multiplayer mode too. From the leaks, we've already seen that the lobbies will likely be similar to GTA Online and Red Dead Online, with room for up to 30 players and 2 extra slots for spectators. There were references to terms like script host and game master, so it looks like Rockstar is bringing over some of the familiar systems we've seen in their other multiplayer titles. When it comes to collectibles in GTA 6, we already have some interesting details, especially for Lucia. From the leaked footage, we saw this clip where one of the developers placed a cardboard box on the ground, and it had a lootable icon on it. And the debug text on the box read collectibles car parts, meaning it's likely that we will also be able to, well, collect car parts among other stuff. It could be mission related or something we could do ourselves to sell them off to earn some quick bucks. The leaks also suggest that each character will be able to collect its own items. Like for Jason, one of the more interesting collectibles we've seen so far is hats. We know how he's always wearing one in the clips and images we see on the internet, and they all seem to have branding, like the ones shown in the footage that feature logos for Hornies and Chasies. These collectibles could be part of a larger collection system where players can gather different items from different brands for their collection. One thing GTA has always nailed is world building. I mean, every corner of the game world is filled to the brim with interesting stuff. Be it things as normal as clothing stores and food joints, Rockstar fills their cities with fictional brands that feel like a real part of the world. And well, based on the leaks, GTA 6 will be no different, and we've got a mix of brand new names along with some reimagined classics from GTA 5. Among the fresh new brands, we've got Arches, a clothing and footwear company, Chasies, Hank's Waffles, which we saw in the leaked footage getting robbed, Bump and Grind, Harmon and Phoenix, Marco Shorefront and What Up, GTA's very own WhatsApp. We'll also see Vice City's own airport, VCIA, and possibly a sports team called the Vice City Mambas. We're also looking at the Rusty Anchor, a music venue hinting at a lively nightlife scene, along with core software and delights. Plus, some classics from GTA 5 are getting a makeover, like Byte, Snapmatic, Bleeder, E-Cola, and of course, Sprunk. So there's plenty of new and old brands taking over the Vice City. Let's talk about something a little more exciting. Animals, because, well, everyone loves them, and it looks like they're going to be a big part of the game world, even bigger than what we saw in GTA 5. We had Chop, Franklin's dog, even a ghost one, and a bunch of others running around the game world. But GTA 6 is doubling down on that idea, with even more animals that you could actually pet. From the leaks, we already knew about animals like alligators, seagulls, and deer being part of the game, and the first trailer later confirmed they'll be making an appearance. But the leaked footage and event lists have mentioned a ton more, like snakes, possibly pythons, boars, skunks, raccoons, squirrels, and even wading birds. There's also mention of creatures like the southern leopard frog, and even crayfish. We might even see whales, pigeons, cows, bucks, and even freaking horses that we could ride RDR style. There's even a mention of something called Skunk Ape, a mythical creature that could be GTA 6's version of Bigfoot, and that's a theory I could totally get behind. We've also got plenty of new mechanics and features implemented into the game. These are gameplay systems and additions that we didn't see in GTA 5, and even though some of them were present in Red Dead Redemption 2, this is the first time we'll see them in a GTA GTA game. One of the coolest new mechanics is the ability to walk while in cover. This wasn't something we could do in GTA 5, plus you can now go prone, which definitely opens up more tactical ways to approach firefights. These are small changes, but will likely make a big difference in how we handle missions and stealth. Then there's the introduction of loot bags. Both Jason and Lucia will have their own, and there's footage showing Jason opening a shipping container and stashing gold and cash in his bag. This mechanic will play a big role in heists and robbery missions, letting you collect loot and store it in your bags. You'll also be able to drop and pick up weapons, making inventory management more interactive and allowing you to grab guns from enemies when you're low on ammo. Also, there are these interesting new features called downed self-revive and downed self-suicide mechanics. Similar to RDR2, it seems you'll be able to revive yourself after taking a heavy hit, or maybe your partner can help. Another feature borrowed from that game is the Eagle Eye system, which appears to be Jason's ability to highlight items of interest like safes, jewelry, or security cameras. Melee combat is also going to change with the addition of grappling mechanic, which is definitely going to make hand-to-hand combat more fun and brutal. On top of that, you can even switch shoulders while aiming, which is a subtle but important improvement for gunplay. But there are plenty more, like cover mode, where you can lean and shoot around corners more smoothly, and shooting from car windows, something we last saw as a cheat code in San Andreas, but it's coming as a full feature now. On the character side, it seems there's a possible weight and muscle system. In the leaked footage, we saw Lucia appears to have different body shapes in different clips, suggesting that how you eat, exercise, or interact with the world might affect your character's appearance over time, much like in San Andreas or RDR2. And speaking of interaction, GTA 6 is adding a ton of new ways to engage with the world. You can carry bodies, rob and threaten NPCs, and even pick up items like beer bottles, likely to throw them at NPCs if you feel like causing some chaos. But that's not all. There are a bunch of new gameplay systems coming to the game that are going to shake things up in a big way. First off, let's talk about money laundering. From the leaked footage, we know there's an icon tied to laundering money, seen in a Hank's Waffles video linked to a car wash. This suggests we will be able to launder money through purchasable businesses, something we saw in GTA 5, but now possibly linked directly to more intricate illegal activities. Then there's the introduction of fences. Both car fence and art fence were mentioned in the event list, likely giving players ways to sell stolen goods, whether it's cars, art, or other valuables. This feels like a natural progression from the black market deals we've seen in previous games, but with more specific criminal channels now. Robberies will also be a central gameplay system, which isn't a huge surprise, but what stands out is the detailed system for planning and executing them. Like, we are getting this command your partner feature, which will let you give commands to your partner during robberies, telling them to hold position, follow you, or surrender. But commands aren't the only things they'll be sharing. We're getting this cool new system that will let Jason and Lucia also share weapons, ammo, and consumables between each other. For instance, in one video, they both pick up the same amount of food and drink and then split it. This could be crucial for longer missions, or when you're running low on supplies. And speaking of sharing, the NPCs are also going to share info but with cops, using this interesting new witness system and police recognition. We've seen in the leaked footage that NPCs will be able to report you to the police if they witness a crime. And there's even a system where your vehicle can be identified by the cops based on the witness's report. During one of the clips, we also saw this yellow icon appear above an NPC's head during robberies, indicating they can either call the cops or run away. But the one that really made me excited was hacking, which seems to be tied to Lucia's skill set. She's seen using tools like the Tracker Jammer, Immobilizer Bypass, and Autodialer. This ties into earlier leaks that hinted she would be a hacker, which could play a major role in certain heists or missions where you will have to infiltrate buildings, break into cars, and access locked data. Expectedly, we are also getting upgrades to the older gameplay features and systems, and one of the most notable upgrades is the improved AI system, how they have become more aware of their surroundings. In one of the robbery clips, we saw an NPC react to police approaching the crime scene saying, "Jesus, finally." We also saw how the NPCs, specifically the cops, can now adjust their stance based on the environment, like adjusting cover depending on object height, reloading at the right times, and even dodging shots while they are moving around. And probably the interesting one is that NPCs no longer walk around aimlessly. They interact with each other, have conversations, and do more realistic things, like sitting on the ground with their pets, like this iguana guy. In another clip, while Jason is aiming his rifle on a tennis court, you can even see an NPC casually preparing to play tennis on another court, so they do finally have a life. We saw this in both the trailer and the leaked footage, where Lucia is shown walking with a duffel bag on South Beach. In the scene scene, a group of tourists passes by her, and one of them even waves as they walk past. This feels way more alive compared to what we have in GTA 5, where NPCs felt like fillers. I mean, they were good, but they hardly had a believable routine. Another big new feature is the ability to surrender to the police during a robbery. We saw this in one of the leaked clips where Lucia surrenders after a robbery goes wrong. But will they actually have us end up behind bars? That's something we still don't know. There's also some fun little details, like buying gumballs from gumball machines, smoking cigarettes, drinking soda cans, or having your clothes get dirty, just like in RDR2. Even the hair growth system from Red Dead is coming to GTA 6, as seen in various clips showing Jason with different lengths of hair and facial hair. Sometimes he's clean-shaven, and other times he's got stubble or even a full beard. This hints at a more dynamic grooming system, where hair grows over time and you can shave or cut it as needed. Then there's this new system called cop traps, where you might get ambushed by the cops in certain areas. These traps show up in event lists for specific locations like alleys, bingo halls, and body shops. If you're not careful, you could walk right into a setup, which sounds pretty fun, and it's something we haven't seen in the GTA games before. The game also seems to be giving you the ability to play without the minimap entirely. The leaks mention on-screen waypoints and map icons, meaning you won't have to rely on the minimap as much. This could actually enhance the immersion, seeing how the game is likely to feature ultra-realistic graphics, so having less HUD elements covering the screen sounds like a nice option. We are also getting a more realistic police reaction system. Unlike in previous GTA games, cops will no longer swarm us instantly. There's something called time until cops dispatch. So whenever you commit a crime, you'll have a brief window before the cops actually show up at the place of your crime. But hiding won't be easy either, because, well, cops in GTA have just learned to use the CCTV system that will help the cops locate you or catch you red-handed committing a crime, even when there's no witnesses. Now, I am sure you might have heard GTA 6 is going to feature insanely detailed car interiors and a more realistic car damage. In one of the clips, we see Lucia driving a Viper, and the car crashes have more impact, with fenders splitting apart, the hood bending, and even the glass shattering. You'll also have more control with vehicle-specific buttons on the D-pad, and car interiors will have working GPS and waypoints visible on the dashboard while driving in first-person view. So it looks like Rockstar is pushing for a much more realistic driving experience. You'll also have the option to enter vehicles in the passenger seat. This could mean that we will be able to choose who sits where, like making Lucia take the wheel while Jason sits on the passenger seat and shoot from the window. GTA 6 is going to be absolutely packed with detail, and we have already noticed a ton of tiny things that breathe life into this world. For starters, you'll see things like raccoons rummaging through trash cans and even stealing food bags. Then, there's a clip where you can literally see the light shining through Lucia's ear cartilage due to subsurface scattering, a detail that Rockstar also kinda used in RDR2. In terms of animations, one of the leaks shows a new feature called Kneeling Desired, which means that players will change their kneel position while crouching. Even the interiors are packed with more real-world items. For example, in places like the Jack of Hearts nightclub or Hank's Waffles diner, you'll notice small details like cups scattered around, waffle makers, cleaning bags, soda machines, and other everyday items. Even things like TV broadcasts playing in bars and clubs add to the realism. Some fans have even noticed how in one of the leaked clips when Jason picks up the bike from a shipping container, you can see him pressing the brakes with his right hand before starting the bike, and his bracelets move along with his wrist. It's a small detail, but it shows just how realistic GTA 6 is aiming to be. Even the wind looks incredibly realistic. In a clip near Ocean Beach, an NPC takes a selfie, and you can see the wind affecting their hair and clothing in a way that feels natural. Speaking of weather, it's also going to be more lifelike. In one scene, it seemed like hurricane season, with dense fog, strong winds, and a moody atmosphere, bringing Vice City even closer to the real-life vibe of Miami, Florida. On top of that, things like scuff marks on the carpet in the pawn shop, lily pads reacting to waves while Jason is on a boat, or even NPCs running with their phones in hand when attacked, all show how much effort Rockstar is putting into every tiny aspect of the game. In another clip, where Lucia is in a shootout with the cops, two of them get shot, and you can actually see them struggle to get up, carefully avoiding putting pressure on the part of their body that's injured, which makes animations all the more lifelike. And, speaking of realism, bullets can now scratch through vehicles and cause sparks when hitting the surface, instead of simply leaving a big hole. You can even see sparks flying off when the vehicle crashes into the edge of the highway. The nighttime atmosphere is also given special treatment. In one of the clips with Lucia walking out of a nightclub, the lighting outside feels natural, with orange tints on the road and realistic shadows from nearby light sources. Now let's briefly talk about the audio. audio, specifically the music. From the leaks, we've been able to pick out some of the songs featured in the game. Most of these tracks are likely placeholders pulled from GTA 5 and GTA Online, for testing purposes, I guess. However, there's one notable track that stands out, Deep Purple's Smoke on the Water, which hasn't been featured in any other GTA game before. Some of the other tracks that stood out in the leaks include the Ramones' Time Bomb, Future's Codeine Crazy, and Skepta's Grease Mode. Again, these might not make it into the final soundtrack, but it gives us an idea of the kind of vibe Rockstar is aiming for. As always, radio stations are also going to be top tier, and while we don't have the final station list just yet, it's safe to say the audio experience in the upcoming game will be just as memorable as in previous titles. Also, let's talk about the sound effects, because this is something that looks like it's finally getting the attention it deserves. From the leaks, it's clear that 6 is stepping up its game in the audio department, and I'm personally really happy to see that weapons sound much better and louder than they did in 5. In the Hank's Waffles robbery clip, you can hear Lucia shooting an NPC, and the weapon sounds are more impactful like we had in GTA 4, louder, punchier, and more realistic. This is something I've been hoping for because I'm honestly sick of the silent vanilla weapon sounds in 5. One of the first mods I install is always a sound overhaul, so it's great to see Rockstar addressing this directly. But it's not just weapons. In the same clip, when Lucia runs to take cover behind a car, you can hear her bumping into the vehicle, which now generates an audio cue. In previous GTA games, you'd have to attack a vehicle for the game to recognize a hit event, but now you can simply bump into a car and it'll register with realistic sound effects. And the same applies to NPCs falling to the ground. We saw this when Lucia shot an NPC and he fell to the floor with a heavy, realistic thud. However, there's one thing I'm more concerned about, the engine sounds, because to be honest, they sound too quiet in GTA games. But seeing how the sound of opening car doors and police sirens echoing off the scenery have also been enhanced, I have high hopes that they'll give vehicle engines the same treatment. And let's talk about stuff that actually makes GTA so much fun, random events. And from what I've seen, there's a bunch of these, and they go from simple stuff like a parking dispute to crazier moments like ATV speeders stunt or BMX hangout. Some sound like they're going to be pretty fun to witness, like the Shotgun Beers encounter or Angry Woman at the Malibu Club, which honestly sounds like something you'd never want to miss. On the other hand, you've got run-ins with the cops, like Cop Pat-Down or Cop Arrest encounter, that might catch you off guard when you least expect it. And then of course, there are the more out there events like Dog Hump Dog or Tire Swing. But it doesn't stop there. You've got things like Truck Hangout, which hints at some kind of illegal street race or some other activity. There's also the Dealer Robbery, which sounds like a classic GTA heist moment. And on top of that, random side missions like Spiritual Journey or Runway Cow, which sound really interesting. There's also stuff like Dead Husband Disposal or Lost Crazy Woman, which I could only imagine what it means. And there's plenty more, which I have no idea what they do, but it sounds like the crazy stuff that we stumble upon in GTA games by mistake. We've even got some references to odd Easter eggs like Message in a Bottle, Haunted Warehouse, and Giant Bird Nest, all of which seem perfect for adding that Rockstar signature weirdness to the world. Lastly, if you're into the creepy or mysterious side of things, keep an eye out for events like The Voice in the Storm Drain, which could be a reference to the It movie. Let's now look at some of the new ways we will be able to travel around the world in GTA 6. From the leaked footage, we saw the Metromover, a modern transport option that makes sense given the game's Vice City Miami setting. Having a metro system feels like a natural fit for the city's vibe. We could even have horses, as mentioned earlier, because in one of the leaked clips we saw the debug menu showing input horse exit, which kinda suggests they might be included as a form of transportation. And of course, we've got tons of vehicles returning from 5, and while they'll be familiar to longtime players, you can bet they'll be in better quality, especially when it comes to their interiors. The level of detail Rockstar is aiming for means we can expect everything, from the dashboard to the leather seats to even adjustable seat heights and steering wheel to make things even more realistic this time around. And as with every GTA game, we are getting plenty of new vehicles making their debut in GTA 6. Some of the new ones we've seen include cars inspired by the Cadillac DeVille D'Elegance, Chrysler LeBaron wagon from 80s, and a Toyota Camry. There even seems to be new construction vehicles that we will get to drive around, like an excavator, or experience a more realistic hovercrafting for the first time since San Andreas. There's even a sandcar event, where you you can race or explore in an off-road dune buggy designed specifically for sand dunes and rough terrains. And of course, ATVs to make driving around the Miami beaches more fun. Alright, let's talk about one of the most important aspects of GTA 6, the map. Based on leaks and data uncovered by miners, this looks to be the most expansive and detailed map Rockstar has ever created. The leaked locations give us a glimpse of just how massive the game will be, with two main areas, Vice City, inspired by Miami, and Port Gellhorn, which seems to draw inspiration from Panama City. There's also mention of areas influenced by places like Pensacola and St. Augustine. What's exciting is that while these areas are based on familiar cities, Rockstar is also adding locations inspired by Georgia, including a prison and mountain ranges. These features don't really exist in real-world Florida, but will add unique diversity to the map. And from what we've seen so far, Vice City itself is packed with many recognizable spots, beaches, clubs, skyscrapers, but there are plenty of new areas to explore too. For starters, we have Edgewater, which features Jack of Hearts nightclub, a multi-story building where Jason and Lucia can be seen in some of the leaked footage. Other neighborhoods include North Vice City, which houses the Guardia hideout, a liquor store, and a mini-mart. There's also Little Haiti, home to drug houses, a thrift store, and a gas station. Then, of course, we have the Vice Beach, which looks gorgeous as ever, featuring a marina and possibly even some quirky art installations like a stone sculpture event. South Beach is another highlight with its famous Ocean Drive, pier, boardwalk hotel, and Happy Juice spot. But as a fan of the original Vice City, what excites me the most is how Rockstar is bringing back some of the iconic locations like the fan-favorite Malibu Club, Washington Beach, Leaf Links, and Ocean Drive, all making a return with much more detail and hopefully plenty of activities to do. Then there's Port Gellhorn, a new area filled with unique spots that aren't based on Miami, but still fit perfectly within the game's overall setting. Some notable locations here include a car wash, quick shop, pawn shop, and even some wilderness areas with trailer parks, which shows how this part of the map will offer a more rural vibe compared to the urban feel of Vice City. One thing to note here is that pawn shop there, which is called Joyeria Empeños, is based on a real pawn shop from Miami and even has a branch in Puerto Rico. Speaking of rural areas, we also caught glimpses of areas like Lake Leonida, which is likely based on Lake Okeechobee, and a range of new locations such as Ambrosia Farm, Sundown Beach, and Yorktown. These are smaller areas that you will be able to explore around, each offering different biomes and settings for a diverse experience. And like we saw in the trailer, there's also Grass Rivers inspired by the Everglades, which has its own unique wildlife, transport, and, of course, dangers. But beyond the urban and rural environments, there's also plenty of abandoned and mysterious locations to explore. You'll find abandoned hotels, carnivals, and even a spaceship house scattered across the map. On top of all this, there are some seriously strange and eerie locations, like the underwater ruins, underwater research facility, and a Serafailed space launch, which hints that Cape Canaveral could be part of the game's map. Looking at the PC specs used during the recordings of GTA 6, it's clear that Rockstar wasn't cutting any corners when it came to power, but of course, keep in mind that this is an early version of the game. Just because Rockstar used these setups for recording doesn't mean that the game is going to require this level of hardware when it officially releases. That said, for anyone curious about what Rockstar was using to run the game during development, here's the rundown. They were working with high-end gear like AMD Ryzen Threadrippers and Intel Xeons, along with NVIDIA RTX 2080 Super and RTX 3080s. While these setups are quite powerful, it's important to remember that the game will likely be optimized to run on a variety of systems once it's finalized. This is just a sneak peek at what they were using during those early builds. Now, judging by those leaked clips, it looks like GTA 6 was in the polishing and debugging phase during the time of the recordings. From clips dated around mid-September 2022, we can see that some of the footage was running on an executable labeled GameWin64BankRelease.x. This means that the core gameplay features were all there and kinda working, and the entire game was playable, but still needed a lot more polishing. Some other clips also showed executables labeled beta and debug, which further confirms that the developers were focused on ironing out issues and improving the game's overall stability. One of the more interesting yet easily overlooked parts of the leak was a piece of Python code. Not many people paid attention to it, but as more details came to light, it turned out that this code wasn't related to the actual gameplay or mechanics, but rather to the menu design. Specifically, it hints at one of the main color schemes for the game's menu, which might be a purple background with white text. Interestingly, this Python file was later found again in GTA 5's source code leak on December 25th, 2023. What's even more interesting is that there was another GTA 6 leak in December 2023 that caught the attention of the community. A friend of Aaron Garbutt's son managed to access and record footage of the game running on a PS5 dev kit at his office. This brief video gave us a quick look at downtown Vice City, and from community analysis, we learned a few key details. The game was running in performance mode, which might have been for development purposes only, and the build version was reportedly 636. While the footage was blurry and didn't give away too much, it kinda showed how Rockstar was already working on optimization for next-gen consoles. This leak gave us a small but pretty good look at the new Vice City, and it also came with a bit of controversy. The same individual who leaked the footage made some questionable claims about the game that ended up being unverified, which led many to doubt his overall credibility. But that's not all. Around the same month, the highly anticipated first GTA 6 trailer was leaked nearly half a day early by someone who managed to gain access to the YouTube admin panel. The person somehow got access and used it to drop the trailer before Rockstar's planned release. Of course, Rockstar had no choice but to release the trailer earlier than expected to regain control of the situation. It's honestly wild to see the lengths people will go to just because of the hype surrounding this game. Now, before I wrap things up, I just want to say that I've tried to pack as much valuable info as possible into this video without turning it into a marathon. Or maybe I have. I will let you guys be the judge. But there's just so much content that if I wanted to go over every single event or location from the leaks, we'd probably be here for hours. So this is more like a deep dive while still keeping our sanity. Let me know what you think. Did I miss something crucial? Hopefully not this time, but I'm always curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks for sticking with me through this breakdown. Also, thanks for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next one.